okay. They weren't there, they didn't come out of persecution or anything else. If they overstayed their visas here in the States, I would be 100% like, okay, well, sorry, you overstayed your visa, you need to leave. I think I'm very in favor of proper enforcement. But as usual, there is no need for the grandstanding, etc. Now, is it necessary for, again, I agree with Marshall or Scott, whoever said it's necessary for President Trump, for his base, and for the people that support him, to be this extreme. Cruelty is a brand, and I will say from the perspective now, from another niche, as we are all like representing various niches in our own lives, the other niche of evangelical Christianity, in my opinion, this is actually ultimately a massive spiritual crisis, because of the fact that this is something that is a political pawn. It's something that both parties don't necessarily want a solution to. Not the humans, not the people that vote, but I mean the guys in power, the politicians, etc. It is definitely a very convenient political football, and it helps people win elections, as we've just seen. However, when you bring it down to the level of individuals, such as old Raj is talking about, who don't care how cruel it is because they're believing, their amygdalas are fired up. I mean, and our brains are programmed to remember scary things and bad things, much more so than good things. That's why when you criticize someone, you're supposed to also say 5 good things to them, because our brains are programmed to remember the bad stuff. That's just an old evolutionary thing to help us survive. We got to remember where the lions were hiding, etc. So we remember that. So obviously people know how to manipulate that. Politicians do. And so given the base that is so stirred up and terrified of these horrible demonic, killer immigrants, I understand their reactions, but I also know that a lot of my people, a huge amount of the base are used to considered evangelical Christians. And so for me, it's a massive spiritual crisis, because where it used to be that cruelty was not a good thing, where we did actually believe in turning the other cheek, now there are literal discussions all over Twitter, and as I call, they're known as the Theo Bros, but these hyper-masculine guys and the whole movement toward hyper-masculinity, that is something, I feel like that's almost the death throes of, I'll use an overused term, but the patriarchy, but let's just say the hypermasculinity and all of this is everywhere now. And so you've got people from evangelical Christians, etc., who are now actually even looking down on Jesus because of the Sermon on the Mount and how soft he was. So I think we've really lost our way, and that is terrible, and that is cause for despair and for weeping and gnashing of teeth, in my opinion. At the same time, I have deep faith that there is a reckoning coming. And when the reckoning comes, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be quite difficult.
DuPont.
But things like this,
the big DuPont story yesterday,
they do run their course, and I'm trusting that there's not too much that's done. Well, much has already been done, but yeah, actually, no, I cut back. There's a lot of damage already done. I just am trusting that some things change sometime soon, at the very least in the next election, because this can't continue. The level of cruelty is, and I think so many reasonable, rational, independent people would be in favor of stronger immigration enforcement. It just doesn't have to be the way it's being done now, which is deliberately cruel. Ultimately, unfortunately, the Trump administration doesn't actually care about drugs, as we've seen with the recent pardon of this massive drug kingpin, the ex-president of Honduras, who helped bring in probably 400 million tons of cocaine to this country. It really is performative, but I have faith that some things are going to happen and some things are going to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbie. We'll go to Linda, followed by Tiger.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. This is a special topic for me. My dad is a naturalized citizen. He's an immigrant. He came here in 1980. So there are a lot of things said right now about Somalis. That's where my dad's from. A lot of people don't know that the country actually split. So my dad lives in the north area. But yeah, growing up being a product of an immigrant, there's challenges and so forth. Like,
and what did your father do, or what does he do here in the United States?
He lives in Somaliland. He has dual citizenship. He teaches mathematics and computer sciences. He's a high-level program.
He's living there, not in the United States?
No, he lives in Somaliland. He's been living there since 1996. So yeah, I just wanted to say that my husband's he's an immigrant as well, and half my family, all my siblings are naturalized citizens, as well as my stepmom. So I think that there is definitely like some kind of war on immigrants. There's a lot of xenophobia going around, but this cycles every so many years. So it's these things I have heard are not new. It's just, I think Trump is just doing it openly. I think he's trying to intimidate. I really think it's a lot of scare tactics. I think if you're here undocumented, you run the risk of being deported. If you don't have your documentation to be here, I think most of them know that they can be deported. But the ones where they're like ripping people from the kids and people are like disappearing, and the lady that got tackled by the ICE agent. I mean, the people that are getting picked up at their interviews, I think it's just overkill. And I just think he's just going just overboard. And I just think it's creating some situations that don't need to happen. I think the way it makes us look to the world. I'm concerned about for Americans that do live overseas right now in other countries, how they might be received, and I don't know if he's considered that. And the last thing I want to say is too, I just worry too about safety. I don't know if everybody can handle what's going on. Some people don't have the mental capacity, and sometimes I wonder, how someone would react, because I work in human resources, so I've had to let people go because they didn't have the proper work authorization documents. I do that on a regular basis, and like I said, some people they all know, and they know that they can't work without their documents. But some people, I just worry about some people's mental stability with all this, and I don't want to see somebody like just go ballistic or something or harm people. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I just asked ChatGPT for a list of notable Somalians who have immigrated to the United States. And why did I ask the question? Because none of them have contributed to this country, according to the president. And when you make an absolute comment such as that, it only takes one exception to make that comment irrelevant. And according to ChatGPT, and I'm going to jettison the politicians like Elon Omar and other people who have been elected to office, most notably in Minnesota. I'm not going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about people who you can say contributed somewhat to our country. I see that there's an Academy Award-nominated actor. I see that there's an international fashion model.
The communist queen, the
I see that there's an award-winning poet. I see there's a Grammy-nominated musician. I see that there's a world champion athlete. I see that there's a U.S. government official and philanthropist. I see another author.
Ready to pay up.
I see educators. I see writers. I see more musicians. Why would a president of the United States take any subset of our nation and malign the entire group and say they haven't contributed, or none of them have contributed to our society? I want them out. That part of this war on immigrants, I want us to if not comment on, people don't have to comment on it. They can if they want. I just want folks to think about that.
Gary,
Yes, go ahead, Linda.
can I say something? And I think that's what's hurtful, because my dad, when he came here, he paid his entire way through college. He saved all of his money. So he paid his entire way. No one paid for him. He wasn't dependent on anyone. He did it all himself. He learned English fluently, speaking it. When they say people don't speak English, my dad speaks and writes English. He can quote Shakespeare. That's how well he speaks English. My father has helped so many people in the African American Black community. My mother's Black American. He went to a historically Black college and he tutored and mentored primarily Black students in math and science and tried to teach them how to be computer programmers. And then when you talk about Islamic people, my dad worked at the local mosque, and his job was to help young men that were converting to Islam, to teach them the Quran and to respect themselves and their family and be upstanding citizens. My dad also went on the news several times to explain the war in Somalia to people and what it was about. So he's made significant, he protested against the KKK coming to our town. So he's made significant contributions as an immigrant. So when people say those kind of things, I think they just don't know where people are coming from. And I want to make this important point, let someone go. When you look at someone or their picture, I think people don't understand. You make 7 unconscious biases about someone. You make 7 assumptions about someone that you don't know. And you don't know them and you don't know their story. And that's all I want to say.
Often as a reporter on the streets, walking up to strangers to interview them, and you try to, size up the person that you're approaching and anticipate what kind of a response you're going to get. And now, even as a street photographer, which is more an avocation than a vocation, it's the same thing. You walk up to somebody and, hey, can I take your picture? You don't know how they're going to respond. You have no way, you know nothing about that person, but it's not just people making these assumptions. We're talking about the President of the United States, and I think it's apropos to single this out as example because it ties into this whole war on immigrants. And I'm not 100% sure of the motivation or the goal. Is there a motivation? Is there a goal to making these kinds of absolute comments about, as he did the Haitians in one town, and as you say about Somalians in total in the United States? Is it that he's got so much hate in his heart and he's expressing it? Or is there another, and I don't want to believe that about him, or is there enough motivation or a goal that we don't see? And I just can't see it. I may be too close to the forest to see the trees. Some of you all might have a better observation about that. Thank you, Linda. And that's exactly why I answered what your father did, because I wanted to hear, his contributions to society.
My dad said the 2 happiest moments in his life was the day I was born and the day he became a citizen. I was there when he got naturalized. And the tears coming down his face, and that he was proud to. He said, I'm an American. And he says, America, he used to say all the time when I was a kid, it's the greatest country in the world. It's the land of opportunity. And he would say, it's the greatest concept in the world that these 50 states come together under one nation, that we have laws and rights and freedoms. My dad used to say that all the time. Because he came from a country where there was one dictator, and you had no rights. You had no say, and things like that. So I just want to say that.
And those who would support the president in these commentaries, maybe those are the folks I need to hear from. We all need to hear from to get an understanding of why somebody would support such an argument. I know we've heard many times, well, the president, he doesn't really mean, that's really not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an understanding of what he does mean when he says these kinds of things. I'm not looking for a defense of the president. I'm looking for an explanation of the president. Yes. We'll get to you. We'll get to you, Dave. We'll get to you.
Okay.
I got to go in order. I can't. It's not fair to the others if I skip the order. But I will get to everyone. I promise. Tiger followed by Merrill.
Hey Gary, and again, thanks for
Hey Gary, I was
inviting me onto the stage. Yeah, and the simple answer to the title is that nothing in life, almost nothing in life, is necessary. United States as a country, as it is today, is probably not necessary in the grand scheme of things. But I'm not, this is not my personal perspective. I know there are a lot of Americans think it's important to be American, to have an identity, to have a country together.
Right, but let's stay on the topic, not talk about America, talk about this specific issue.
Well, this is the topic. This exactly is the topic. And I think for those people who want to preserve America as whatever their ideal of America is, it is necessary to control the border. Like Marshall said, any sovereign state, there's a necessity to control the border as to who you let in and to what capacity and what's the status of the people you let in. It's both necessary for keeping the country together, but also for security. So that's necessary. What's so particular about America, though, is the American identity is not built upon things like race and, strictly speaking, nationality. I think what people find unpalatable with what Trump seems to be doing is that he's handpicking who he or certain factions of Americans want to be Americans, who qualify to be Americans and who do not qualify to be Americans. And this is not a unique thing in America, right? Countless countries throughout history and different geographical locations did similar or sometimes even more severe things. South Africa was an apartheid state. Nazi Germany chose who then want to be German and should be qualified to live on their Lebensraum. I think that's what it's called,
Lebensraum.
Yes. And you have countries today like Israel, who is having very strict control on what kind of political rights to grant to which part of the people. So it's not uncommon, but when it comes to America, because the American ideal is built upon a belief in, the democracy or the declaration of some sort, the emancipation. So this is where these ideas come into conflict. And I believe there was an American philosopher by the name of Huntington wrote somewhere earlier last century that having a diversity in American society is actually counterproductive to the idea of forming a common understanding of what this nation is. And this is, is manifest today. And I do believe the American experiment of building a nation out of an ideal instead of out of, let's face it, genetics or blood or, common culture is a very good one for humanity. I believe it's an important experiment for human civilization. But when times are hard, I think somebody earlier mentioned human nature is that we fall back to our instincts. Part of that instinct is to be tribal. And to the people who used to think that they own this part of the world, this land, this America as they define it, and people sometimes mention, the WASP people, or different part of Americans believe a different America exists, and some of those beliefs is un-American in the sense that it goes against this American ideal of forming a nation based on an idea. And that's what we're seeing today. And it's because time is hard. We're going to see more of this, not only in America. We're going to see this in Europe in particular, in other parts of the world, in Asia. And to reflect, many nations survived to this day because they did something similar in their history, right? They had to purify their population in a sense, or sometimes they annexed and.
So are you suggesting that what the president's policies vis-a-vis immigration is necessary in order to purify the country, or at least from his perspective?
I'm suggesting the president or some of his supporters may believe in this, right? And as the Nazi Germans believed in that, but when you think about it, the reason why we condemn Nazi Germany today, a big part of that is that whatever they did in Germany did not become the status quo. We defeated Germany.
Can I interrupt? Very, guys.
Can
I interrupt?
No, but we'll try to get back to you.
Very important.
But if Hitler,
I know everybody has important things to say, but you know how the room works. Go ahead, Tiger.
yeah, I was just saying, if Hitler did win the Second World War, and 100 years from whatever that's over, maybe people will be, phrasing Nazi Germany as something entirely different. As we can see, narratives are often shaped over time. And so I don't know. I just hope that whatever Donald Trump tries to do, and I personally, I may be affected by this. So far, I'm not. But whatever Donald Trump tries to do, for his benefit, I hope he wins, whatever that means. Yeah, thank you.
I don't understand that last comment, but it was noted. Thank you, Tiger. We'll go to Merrill, followed by Monsef.
Hey, Gary, I got inadvertently kicked off the stage.
Well, I'm going by how I see the order now. And by the way,
Yeah.
it's 5:55, so we're not adding any folks to the stage. However, everybody who's on the stage and in queue will get the opportunity to speak as we go into extra time. Monsef.
No, it was me.
You're correct. I was doing a little housekeeping because somebody jumped on late.
I let Monsef go ahead of me, but I...
No. I want you to go next. Thank you, Meryl. And thank you for your patience, Monsef. Go ahead, Meryl.
I don't think I can help you, Gary, because you were looking for some kind of looking beyond the forest to find something in Trump that I can't find. I don't even think exists. I will go even further than Scott. He is a cruel person. I believe he's a cruel person. Does his base like it? Yes, they do. But I don't think that changes anything. I think that he is plain simply, his personality disorders include being cruel. And regarding immigration, this isn't a man who just hates immigrants. He wants to make people immigrants. He wants babies, people that are born in this country. He wants them deported. He doesn't want them to have citizenship. They're born here. The Constitution says they are American citizens. He's fighting that. He doesn't want that. He doesn't care about DACA. And the DACA people, they do things that are so far superior sometimes than some of us do. Us American citizens, in order that they be able to stay here. They join our military. They have to. They have to either go to college or join our military, and they do. And Trump doesn't respect that. Think of the Gold family, who he ripped apart in his first term, whose son was killed fighting for our country. He doesn't. I think the only immigrants he likes maybe are in the Miss Universe contest when he handled that, and the wives that he married, and probably their families who he wouldn't let other immigrants' parents come here because he was against that. So we have discussions all the time, and there are some people that come here and they're very, we have to do this, it's the law, and they need to be handled because they broke the law. I wonder if those people sat around and one day someone came to them and said, hey, you know the guy who lives on the corner, the one who goes to church with you, the one who works over there, and the one who your kids play with, he's undocumented. And they're going to throw it. Should we tell people about it? Do you want him to be picked up? What do you want for that person? I want to know how those people feel, the ones who say that it's got to be done. It's got to be done. I'd like to know how they feel. And regarding what Barbie said about Somalia and her father, we don't have a president. Linda, I apologize. We don't have a president who takes pride, feels the pride that people have when they do good things. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have the empathy. He doesn't feel it. So when we talk about all these people who come to this country and they do good things and great things. He doesn't feel that. He's not Reagan, and he couldn't even sit through a Reagan speech about that. And I know that I am possibly an outlier in this. Maybe I'm too tough on him, but I have stopped looking. I researched Trump long before he ever ran the first time because of a bet that I had with my boss. And I have never found anything about Trump that shows a feeling of empathy, a feeling of pride that people feel for their families. He just doesn't. And them going and having ICE, taking away, as Scott said, we take away from our FBI. We take away from all of our national security, people that help our national security, and we've got them in ICE. He's got them going to nursery schools and taking parents, when they pick up their children, he's having children being, it's traumatic, it's horrible what he does. And if we want to look to see why he does it, we can't find something good in him that can tell us why he does it. I don't think so. But if other people can, please let me know. Thank you.
I don't know what the medical condition is, but there are people, and I'm not diagnosing the president, but there are people who lack the ability to have empathy. And perhaps you're right about the president. Thank you, Meryl. Montsev, followed by Chris.
Thank you, Gary. It's a topic we spoke about a lot, but it keeps coming back because it's still a bad thing for this country that we have to still be talking about stuff like that. Back in 2015, when Trump was running, he made a name for himself. I mean, he was bombastic about all the insults and the stuff that he whenever he goes into a rally and there is live cameras and all that, he wasn't shy about calling Mexicans rapists and murderers and countries in other places of the world that he despises. He didn't mind calling them shithole countries, and people that come from them are no good. And this time, he pushed it a little far because of he wanted to build on the immigration issue that Biden wasn't good at. I have to agree. Biden kind of dropped the ball on the immigration issue because he did not have a good immigration policy. He did let a lot of people come in. However, that was after the crisis of COVID that created havoc in the world. And if Biden were to be blamed, yes, he was the president, and that crisis at the border, he should own it. But the reason that I always keep repeating that Trump's message got so popular, and it was a populist message, is because people perceived it as a brave man saying stuff that people were whispering amongst themselves in safe crowds, little bars and stuff. And I was privy to a lot of shitty conversations when people don't know that your name is Montsev, and you just, whether it's at work or your local bars and all that, and whether it's about black people or Mexicans or whatever, but these conversations were taking place in the United States. I mean, we are a country that we're still deal with a lot of these problems. There was a lot of racist commentary between the people and all that. So here you go, to someone that wants to be the president, the chief, the leader, and all that, and he's not shy about calling over calling, exaggerating. Let's say that anyone that kind of Mexicans are, rapists and killers. And it's like, hallelujah, this is what we're thinking about all along. He even pushed it further. I think it was in the last election, he said, they are poisoning our blood, and that is straight up. I mean, anyone that keeps saying that Trump doesn't have, shouldn't be compared to Hitler. This is a very Hitlerian speech. Poisoning the blood of the country, mixing of the blood is no good. The beautiful white people, that he adores, that he keeps marrying, are going to be tainted with the Mexican and the African blood and all that. And that's somehow finds a good refuge. I guess a lot of people like that message, which is the scary part of the United States, which is, something we have to work on. But this is why, and he's not stupid. He saw that it was a popular message. He saw that a message like that can get the crowds riled up, can get votes, can get people, behind him, and he did. Except, he took it a little further, and it became, even if he was just doing it to get elected, the more he goes into the xenophobic kind of rants, the more he shows that, the guy really has issues. The way he was talking yesterday about, American people serving in Congress. I don't care about her ideology, but she's an American, whatever her name, Ilan Omar, I guess, from Somalia. And she was just, he was just talking about her as if she was elected while she was in Somalia. She was elected to Congress after, she became a U.S. citizen. And one thing that we love about this country is, U.S. citizens are all the same. Americans are all the same. There is not, there's not you don't get to, I guess, claim privilege because we all pay the same taxes. We all contribute the same way. A lot of us contributed more than others. I got people from my community. I am a dual citizen that have served in the army. I got a friend that was a Moroccan-American friend, a dear friend of mine that did 2 tours in Iraq. He died after his 2nd tour, and he was a proud American. And if we were to go by the classification of where he came from, I guess you would call him someone from a shithole country. But he did offer more than, a lot of people are calling names would offer to this country. I keep saying the same story every time, but the First Lady of the United States was an illegal immigrant for a few months. She did come under a contract that did not, a visa, a tourist visa, and then she decided to work, which is illegal. Her visa expired. She didn't have a work permit. She only got, I guess her papers only got settled after she got married, which based on today's laws, they don't even let you do that. They send you back to the country where you violated the visa requirement from, and then you apply for your marriage visa, whatever that K9 or whatever it's called, to come back. But she wasn't doing that. You won't hear that story being talked about and frowned upon by the Republicans and say, well, she didn't really set a good example because she didn't follow the immigration laws herself. And now she's the First Lady. But, from the economic standpoint, it will be, even if these 20 million people, like he says, I don't know if it's 20 million that came in the Biden administration, that would be a huge...
It's only about 13.5.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you ramp up all the people are here illegally and kick them out, that would be a huge blow to the economy. It would not be a good thing. There is a lot of a lot of things that these people are doing that American citizens or whatever have just given up. They're not. I mean, people are not looking to go pick tomatoes and lettuce. I'm not saying that immigrants, that's all they do, but economic immigrants with no papers, a lot of them, that's the jobs that they end up doing because of the situation. And I live in Florida, and I do construction lending for a living, and a lot of job sites that were try to ask, like, how come the projects are not going up on time, and all the same question comes back is that we can't find enough people to work, and because it's, I mean, immigrants were a huge part of the construction business in the state. So even, going up, even if it's a problem that needs to be solved, propose a solution that's not going to have a blow to the U.S. economy. That's all I have to say. Thanks, Gary.
So I got a question for you. And it's something I've been passing back and forth in my head. I don't really if you've been here for 20, 30, 40 years, I feel like deporting you'd be cruel. But say you got here 5 years ago and it took the court 5 years to process all that stuff, and you still get a lawful order of deportation. Are you amenable to the move of enforcement, or do you think enforcement is something that has to fall by the wayside?
No, as long as you get your due process, Marshall, like you said, if someone can prove, I guess, that for 20, 30 years or whatever, they have lived a decent life, they have paid their taxes, they never committed a crime, I mean, that would be ridiculous to just ask them to pick up and move to whatever they came from. When you're here and, I guess, if you're caught and you're like 3, 4, 5 years, you are running a risk that your situation is not legal. So unless there is a government should be smart enough to think that, well, if someone has been here for 5 years and they have contributed to society and all that, is it really fair to treat them as someone that just was caught at the border yesterday and it's going to be sent back? Should some kind of amnesty be applied? I'm talking like this because a lot of countries in Europe took this route because it was beneficial to society over there in Spain, Italy, sometime in France, but Spain was the leader in this because of all the African migrants from the southern Mediterranean coast. It was an amnesty law, but you have to prove that you are contributing to society, you do have a job, you are serious, you're not into drugs, you're not into whatever. Because at a certain point it does become it's something that you have to treat. Yeah, there is the law, but then there is also a lot of things that you can do. There is amnesty. There is, everyone's situation is different. I do have to mention here, Marshall, that looking at all the the data from the immigrant populations here, it's the lowest levels of crimes. The most crimes in the U.S. are committed by Americans, especially when it comes to murders. And even when you hear that they released a bunch of people from jails and they committed, most crimes are not committed by someone who just fled. Costa Rica last year. Most crimes statistically are committed by U.S.-born, natural-born Americans. So even taking that route that we're cleaning the country from the criminals, it doesn't make statistically doesn't make any sense.
I apologize. Rob, Gary, I have something very urgent. The entire room needs to.
All right, Raj, go ahead. Oops, we lost him. Thank you, Monsef. We'll now go to Chris, followed by Brian.
Hey, Gary, what's going on?
Hanging in here, my man. Hanging in.
Gary, this might be the first topic that you didn't add a little space for me to say the Epstein files didn't release yet. Just a heads up. This wouldn't be the the veil over the Epstein odds, but this is just another.
No, I'm
this is a
bringing
great
this
topic.
up. It's not the president.
No. This is a great topic. I'm just saying this is the first time that you made a room that I couldn't just sprinkle a little bit of that truth about the Epstein files and him not being released. And I did want to say it, but let's move on to the topic. So is the government war on immigration necessary? Obviously, no. We do this every day, Gary. No, it's a great topic, but no. We know what immigration does for our country on the positive side. We even know that they're not as much as criminals, rapists, and robbers as we've been told because of the statistics that eventually one day may disappear. So we understand already that that's just a fabricated lie that he's pushing to a base. Now, I don't remember which guy said it, but he said he works with about 200 people that would live and die for Trump, believe anything he says, and believes he's not going far enough. Guess what? That's this country. I hate to say it, my brothers and sisters of Caucasian descent on this stage was right there on the edge of saying what they needed to say. And I'm not saying anybody said anything wrong, but I am saying that you guys just refuse to say that this man is pushing a white nationalist movement across this country. And it benefits you guys. So yeah, he's not saying, hey, we're going to go get the Irish. We're going to go get those Jewish people out of here because they are immigrants. We're going to go get the Russians because they're immigrants. No, he's speaking about brown people of places that he know there will not be any white people. Oh, except Afrikaners. Afrikaners are the only people available to come in this country right now. Outside of those other brown countries, white people from brown countries. So again, we're going to keep speaking around it, and that's going to keep giving him room to move within the rooms, the way
Communist queen, the
until we start
tamale.
speaking directly about, you know what, this is a white nationalist movement. Why does he not want any brown people in this country? Why does he keep telling us that only people are doing bad things or criminals are the rapists and the robbers of the brown countries? I get it. It's hard to take a mirror and say, you know what, I'm not like him, or maybe I have opposing views, but some things that I do agree with. But you have to be able to look at yourself and say, hey, that's not right. Even though I'm on the side that he's working for, he's not doing anything wrong to me, my cousins, my uncles, my Democratic cousins who argue all day with my Republican uncles. He's not doing anything to those people. He's only doing things to the brown people. We have to remember, those fruits on those vines did spoil. They still went to the grocery store. You know how I know? Because I bought strawberries. I bought grapes. I bought blueberries in packages with mold, with brown spots inside your strawberries. Because those things weren't getting done. They have already affected the American people. But we're going to keep trying to tiptoe around the fact that this man is really pushing a narrative that does embolden one group of people in this country. And it's the Caucasian skin people. I don't mean Caucasian people, I don't mean skin, but everybody can say it. Now, I'm not saying you guys are wrong and you guys need to be tarnished from the country. Not standing up and realizing that you actually are being part of the issue of not speaking directly to what we're all seeing. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to let you guys figure out that part. But what I will say is there will be a day where this won't be the status quo. And he's pushing towards the status quo now. And J.D. Vance is doing it, trying to take the turning point round so he can try to be the next president. They're going to continue to try to wash over your next generations into believing that the white nationalist movement is the proper movement. And they're going to do it under the guise of Christianity.
Saddling tax burdens, which are
going to do that under the guise of Muslims are bad. Those shithole
in
countries are
recognition
brown.
of this, Otto the First rewarded.
This is what they're pushing to not only
he knows he's an illegitimate president.
He
knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why it actually turned out the way it did. And I take responsibility for those parts of it that I shouldn't believe. He knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows.
But one day there will have to be a change in this country. And if you want this country to continuously grow, you will accept the change and push back on the negative narrative that's being pushed. And do it loudly. Do it loud enough to where they can start to see that this is not the right way for a country to continue to progress in a proper way. Again, I bought those fruits when he immediately started harassing Hispanic and brown people that worked in our farming areas. Those fruits weren't good. But they lasted a day if they were organic, and they weren't.
I think they're on your side.
But that's because nobody's working those fields.
The word
This is the
synthesis, when translated
Venezuela will be the
to
bad guy
ancient
for whatever
Egyptian
political,
means
financial reasons
forest.
he's going to gain himself. That's not going to benefit anybody.
Do I
The truth of the matter is, if your life has not gotten any better in the last 10 months, like he told you what it would on day one, but he's still going around harassing the immigrants and making
then,
prices higher,
as a called
what is he
time,
actually doing for you other than tickling your fancy? Make you feel a little more secure about what you believe.
in the like
What
voice
he believes,
refrain,
excuse me, maybe
Rumi
not even
says
you,
that
but
we
he
eventually
believes what America
become
should look like. If it's whiter, come on, say it.
increased
I think the trend is being I think that's the trend. Whoever captures affordability will do it.
It's not affordability because he doesn't believe in affordability because affordability is democratic vote. Okay, can I finish? Because I'm not talking about affordability right now. I'm talking about a white nationalist movement I'm talking about a white nationalist movement that is being pushed by the president. And people are soft-shoeing around it because people are soft-shoeing around it. Excuse me, Marshall, I'm talking. I'm in a full sentence. People are soft-shoeing around it because they honestly don't want to feel like he's the bad guy and he's working on my behalf. I get it. Nobody wants to feel like the bad guy's in their corner and they don't want to say it because it is working for me. It does make sure my uncle, who is a terrible person, who can't keep a job, can feel like he's getting those Mexicans out of here, I'll get a job. And he'll never get a job.
those whom she
You know
herself
that.
had.
You understand that. You live that with this. But this is the narrative that you're pushing. So you guys,
in my
I hate
living
to
room,
see it,
sitting
you
in the
guys.
sun, and there's never-ending chemtrails of airplanes,
The reason we got here is
non-commercial.
because everybody said Barack Obama was pushing too hard on the narrative of claims and unity and inclusiveness. We're going to keep trying to shame Joe Biden for immigration policy that's always been there.
Into the makeover of a restaurant.
No, we're going to shame
More,
Joe Biden.
more people showed up, yes, with the asylum
Who are you, James?
Y'all call them immigrants and migrants, but they're asylum seekers. They are asylum seekers. Marshall, I didn't interrupt you. Nobody interrupted you when you talked, but you seem to be interrupting me. Let me This is why you need to know, but I'm not blaming anybody. I'm telling you my opinion on the topic. And if you can't accept that, Marshall, you should sit down and go sit in another room until I finish. I should get a free chance to speak too, Marshall. A black man in this country should have the right to speak without a white man feeling he should step on it. And that's what you're doing right now. I feel like you're trying to step on my voice. I feel like you're trying to step on my voice, Marshall, and that's rude. Gary, could you please stop this? Gary, could you please stop this as an ally?
I mean, we're both allies.
No, okay, sure. No, hey, sure. But Gary's not stepping on my topic. Gary's not stepping on my time. You're wasting the rest of these people's time. It's about 7 other people in here. Gary has to go to work, but you want to interject on my comments. You should sit down and finish. Okay, so back to what I'm saying. Gary. I do understand that immigration might have got out of hand, but we do asylum seeking here. And until they want to change that, as the Democratic Party wanted to do prior to the election, we're not going to get anywhere until Caucasian people take the realization that, hey, he is working on there for my benefits. However, this won't benefit me in the long run. My food will be bad, my prices will be high, my next door neighbor will be harassed. The kids that play with my children will no longer have a father or a mother because they've been harassed or kicked out of the country. Then this is what we get, Gary. We're going to continue to get.
So I'm going to codify your point, if you don't mind.
Plastic picture
I would like you to do what you're going to do, Gary. But he got to stop interrupting.
All right. You guys have to, have a conversation.
I don't have to have a conversation about nothing.
Well, okay, if you guys want to resolve.
Please go ahead, Gary. I don't care about resolving it with people I don't care to know. I don't know him. I don't care to know him.
All right.
We're in the same space because you make a good space. That everybody should get a free chance to speak and not be interjected.
And you always do. You always do.
And I respect your stage.
Yes. So I would just like to codify something that you said. I got a little bit of a takeaway from this. I don't know if other people view it the same way, but I think the point made there, and it's an interesting one that I think we should, each of us, assess as a possibility, is that there are rules in place that allow for people to migrate to this nation to seek asylum. Those rules are on the book. I say rules because I don't want to get hung up in the semantics of the laws and the treaties, because there's an overlap there, but there are rules in place. And we may have a president, as this is what I'm hearing Chris say, who disagrees with the rules, but he can't change the rules, so he changes the manner of operation to circumvent the rules. That's an interesting concept to consider. So if we now scroll back to the top of the room, is the government war on immigrants necessary? Perhaps to the president and his supporters, what Chris just suggested, he answered yes. It's necessary to circumvent the rules. That's an interesting possibility that I am going to contemplate, and I want to thank Chris for putting it in my mind. Brian, followed by Andrew.
Hey, thanks, Gary. I think I'll provide the counter argument or take the hits as the supporter of this, saying that I think the war, strong term, but I think the pace is the way I would phrase it, is necessary, because you only get a certain amount of time as president to enable your policies, and we see that the Democrats, the left, are actively trying to slow him down. Lawsuits with different activist tactics, creating a bunch of chaos and confusion. So I think what he's realizing is you only get a certain amount of time to get as many people out as possible. They're not going to be able to accomplish that at the same rate at which they were let in. So it makes it seem like they're cold, they're heartless, they're mean, when really he's just, I think, facing the reality that, let's say, if he loses the midterms, loses the House or the Senate, then a lot of his policies will get further delayed. So he'll have to use the courts, and that takes time. So it's
I'm having a little bit of understanding the point you're making, and so you're saying that the fact that we have so many immigrants in the country is an impediment to the policies and affects the midterm elections adversely to the Republicans?
What I'm saying is Trump needs to act quickly to get these people out, because if he loses the House and or the Senate,
and he's constrained by law. He's constrained by U.S. law to a process. He's not just allowed to put people on a plane and deport them to nowhere. That's not the process for proper deportation in our country.
But he does. So I agree with you, Marshall. But that is what's happening. But I'm just asking. So I understand that he feels under time constraint to get done what he wants to get done. Well, what's the reason he's trying to get rid of? We don't want him in the country. Get rid of all the Somalians. We don't want him in the country. Get rid of all the Afghans. We don't want him in the country. Get rid of all the Haitians. What's the reason behind all of what he wants to get done before the midterms, where he may lose control of the check and balance system, which he is now indemnified from?
Well, I'd say the primary reason is he looks at those people who come from poor countries as people who are going to either begin or stay on welfare, and who is the party, which is a party that encourages welfare benefits and free stuff. It's the Democrats. So what he's doing is he's saying that the people who are coming from these...
once you apply to be on public benefits unless you're an asylee or you're a refugee recipient.
But yet it happens, right?
No. You're saying
it doesn't happen?
What I specifically said was that there was a process.
Are you saying that people who come in from other countries are not on SNAP, are not on getting benefits from the American government or the state level?
No, that is not how it works. It is currently illegal to do that. It's been illegal since the big...
You're not answering my question. Are you saying it doesn't happen?
I am saying that when it happens, it is illegal.
Does it happen?
And it's been illegal for a very, long time. And
But
the Trump administration is the administration that put some of these penalties in place for the very thing we're talking about right now.
Okay, so then when he goes after these people who have committed these crimes, who are on benefits, who are getting, illegal access to American taxpayer dollars, then that's where.
Hold on. You don't get access unless you have a work number.
Go ahead, Marshall.
No, I'm sorry. You just don't get access unless you have a work number or social security number. That's the way that it works.
Are people getting free social security numbers?
Pernicious idea.
Are people getting illegal access to social security numbers?
Somehow receive federal benefits for no good reason makes absolutely no sense, number one. Number two, it's not the proper process. And number
Can I give you evidence where you're wrong?
Please put it in the
chat.
chat.
Can I give you evidence where you're wrong?
Sure, put it in the chat.
Okay.
I'd be happy to see it.
Sure. So my brother works for a company that hires illegals. And so what'll happen is the person who does their HR process will ask for a social security number when they get hired. And what'll happen is she will say to this illegal, that social security number is not valid. Somebody else already has it. Pick another one. So then what happens is the person shows up, same person, shows up the next day with a different social security number that is not already in use.
Which is currently illegal. You don't have to pass another law to enforce. If they're hiring that way, they're hiring that way, and they should be busted. I got a buddy who's also in HR and also does cold storage, and they check every single.
So my point is, it happens. If I could get back to my point. Gotcha. So what I'm saying is, it does happen. It happens on a rampant basis, and so
no, it doesn't. And you have provided no evidence to substantiate that allegation. None.
Okay. Let's say that this company is the only company in the whole country that happens. So let's take your argument that it doesn't happen. It's not rampant. But let's just say that when these people
happen, what I said,
Jesus Christ, are we going to quibble over every
already
sentence?
Illegal, and so complaining about it as if it's this new thing that somehow magically appeared out of nowhere makes no sense, because it's already illegal to do. It's already a crime in the country. It's already a crime that President Trump made sure was a crime when he was in his first administration, and helped pass a bill the second administration to make sure getting federal resources from things like SNAP were a crime.
So here's the point. Here's the point, though, guys. We can argue back and forth. Does it happen? Is it supposed to happen? Is it legal when it happens? Here's the whole issue with the president's approach, and I'm going to take it away from the SNAP program and point to his current, and I agree with you, Brian, it's a strong word, war. His current war on the Somalian population of the Twin Cities. There are had the number and now I lost it. There are 80 to 85,000 Somalian people living in the Twin City area. So let's take the lower number, 80,000 people. In that infamous program that the president holds up as the reason for going after the Somalian population, that's the Feeding Our Future. And it is a wide-ranging number of people. It goes pretty deep, but thus far there are all of 78. That's a lot. That's a lot of people to be indicted in one case. I can't recall the last time I covered a case where there were 78 people indicted. That's a lot of people. It's a major alleged fraud scheme. 78 people have been indicted over a population of 80,000, taking the low number, of Somalians living in the Twin Cities area. So I think what he does, and his proponents do, is they will take these examples, whether it's illegal immigrants who do not, as Marshall so correctly qualified, so correctly pointed out, do not qualify for being on a program such as SNAP or other welfare programs, but who are, and he will make the exception the rule. The exception becomes the rule. One Afghan guy shoots 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C. If you look at the number of people who came in on that program from Afghanistan during the Biden administration, a program which the president, this president, criticized for having missed people who should have been brought into the United States. He was in favor of more of them coming in, this president, at that time. That's an exception to the rule. As Scott pointed out earlier, I think it was Scott, if you look at the statistics, the chances of a person being victimized by a crime committed by a naturally born American citizen as opposed to an immigrant, per capita basis, is much greater from a naturally born American citizen. But right now we see that whenever an illegal immigrant commits a heinous crime, it suddenly is a big story, and it's pointed out to the country that this illegal immigrant committed this crime. The exception becomes the rule. I think that the recognition of this, what we've just explored, Marshall, Brian, and Gary, doesn't really explain the reason why. Why is it so important for the president to take the exception and make it the rule? And I think that's the question. Yes, I'm asking you the question. So I would like Brian to answer that question. Why is it so important to take the exception and put it in the public mind that that is the rule?
Because Trump and I think a lot of his supporters view this as an extension or an implementation of the Cloward pivot strategy. So to me, it all revolves around the Cloward pivot strategy, which is, if you're not familiar, in the mid-'60s, a couple sociologists basically said, if we are going to overthrow the government, if we are going to destroy America from within, we can't do it using the Soviet Union or, frontal assault tactics, because America is too strong, too economically and militarily powerful. So we have to destroy them from within. So the tactics in the Cloward pivot strategy are to overwhelm the system of the welfare, the immigration system, with a lot of low-skilled, low-education people who are dependent on welfare, and that will economically bankrupt the country at the local, state, and.
But is that happening? Is that actually happening?
That's what Trump is trying to avoid. That's what Trump is trying to
see. Okay. So if that's exactly happening, that is an explanation. Thank you.
Welfare makes up something like less than 10% of overall U.S. spending, just so you're aware. It's like trying to save money going to the couch cushions.
Okay, sure.
So, speaking of which, look at that. That money did fall out of my pocket. Actually, not so much in the couch cushions today. Not so much in the couch cushions today, because who carries change anymore to roll out of your pocket while you're watching the football game and falling asleep to end up in the couch cushion? It just doesn't happen anymore. Nobody carries change anymore. It's worthless. You need actual dollars, and people don't carry national dollars anymore. Everything is done with their Apple card on their iPhone.
There's one guy here who still carries dollars. I thought it was important to note something before we moved on. I looked this up, so it comes from the AI, so take it for what it will. Based on available data, undocumented immigrants generally do not federal benefits, eligibility limited to certain emergency services, K through 12 education, state programs, federal beneficiary ineligibility. most federal public. Basically, this like stretches out that people aren't allowed for it.
And what are you referencing there, Marshall?
I was referencing a ChatGPT. That's why I said take it with a grain of salt.
Well, who does ChatGPT reference?
ChatGPT in their thing, they reference the American Immigration Council economic.
Okay, so the American Immigration Council is a credible. They're an advocacy, but they are credible in the information that they promulgate. So here you have a perception that Brian had, and I'm not singling Brian out because obviously what the president is doing resonates not just with Brian but with other people. People get the perception that this is a significant problem in the United States. You've already pointed out previously that it costs a very small percentage of the overall budget. So it's not really, as Brian would suggest, destroying the United States from within. And there may be an argument to be made that it is a sign of strength when society takes care of people within that society. That's a sign of strength, not weakness. And so instead of tearing the country apart, it brings the country together. You know, we're at this time of year where we suddenly have that perspective of where we want to help people who are less fortunate. And then after January 1st, we'll forget about that. But it's that time of year, the reason for the season and all that kind of stuff, where people tend to be far more charitable. Not just financially charitable, but in their outlook toward their fellow human being. And then we forget about that. I think that's a strength. I'm not a Christian, but I think that this Christian tradition that we see overwhelmingly in this highly Christian society of ours at this time of year is a strength of the nation. When we're caring for people, when people are going out and